Hope you had a good weekend. And here we're doing day 11. So today is food testing day. Okay, so we've talked a lot about carbohydrates and proteins and lipids and nucleic acids and why they're so important to build a cell. Okay? Now, remember that one of the questions I want to ask you right away is why do we eat? Okay, and why do we eat? So think about this just for a second. Think about why do we need to eat food? Now, the most common sense answer that you're going to come up with is, well, we need to have energy. And you're right. Okay, a lot of the food that we eat goes towards our energy. But that's not the only reason that we need to eat. We also need to eat in order to make new cells. We need to be able to repair our cells. Right now, skin cells are just falling off my arm right now, and I need to repair them, or I need to replace them rather. Okay? When I get damaged, so if I just hit my arm right now, I've just destroyed a bunch of cells on my arm. I've got to repair those cells. Okay? So we not only eat to absorb energy and to create energy for our bodies to run, but we also eat in order to create new cells. And that's why when we eat, we need to make sure that we have carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids in our diet in order to make all those new cells, because like we mentioned before, every new cell is going to be composed of those 4 macromolecules. Now, when we look at, say, food labels, so I'm going to try and get a food label up here, okay, it's always going to have a couple things on there. You're going to have carbohydrates, you're going to have proteins, and you're going to have fats. And why they have that in a food label is to tell people, when you're eating food, are you eating enough carbohydrates for the day? Are you eating enough protein in the day? Are you eating enough lipids in the day? Now, they usually don't put nucleic acids in. So I want you to think about, why don't they put nucleic acid content in? And the answer being is that anytime you eat a cell, you have to be eating nucleic acids. You must be, because every cell contains nucleic acids. So if you eat a piece of chicken or if you eat a plant, then you're definitely getting nucleic acids. The only time that you wouldn't be is, say you're eating like, say, a coffee. Okay, so I've got a coffee out in front of me, and inside this coffee, there isn't going to be any cells. I guess I have a little bit of cream in it, so cream would have a little bit of cells. But when I have, like, say, a Kool-Aid or a Coca-Cola, because there's no actual cells in there, I wouldn't have nucleic acids. I could still have carbohydrates, and I may even have a little bit of lipids and protein, but because it's not cells, I wouldn't have the nucleic acids. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do it like something like the FDA does, is whenever a food company produces a type of food, so here I have, so what is this? This is Magic Baking Powder. Okay? So according to Magic Baking Powder, when I look at their nutritional facts, they have 75 milligrams of sodium, 0 milligrams of carbohydrates, 0 milligrams of protein, and we'll say 1 milligram of fat. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do kind of a virtual lab on how you would test foods to ensure that the label that they're saying on there is accurate. Because there's a lot of incentive. If I was a company and I was like, oh, I want to create a new potato chip, if I put on my label that there's no fat, no carbohydrates, and tons of protein, then people will start eating them, and it may not be actually accurate. So the FDA will go in and test it. So what we're going to do today, so we go to our home page, okay, and you click on your content, and we go down. So this is actually going to be in an activity. Okay? So you're going to click on Activity 1, Assignments 1 to 5. Okay. Now here's your assignment. So this is assignment you should have already done. Okay, I'll be marking those and giving them back to you. This assignment should also be done. This assignment should also be done at this point. Okay, this one I do not want you to complete yet. I'm going to change this. Okay, so we're skipping over assignment 4. We're not going to be doing that today. This is what we're doing. We are doing a lab food testing. Okay, so you are going to first click on this sheet. You're going to download it. This is where you're going to keep your observations. You're then going to click here and complete the food lab. Okay? Now, after you're done, this is a major assignment. This is going to count for a lot more than these previous assignments. Okay? So you're going to submit it in the Dropbox. Now, how you write up your lab report, you're going to follow this link right here. You're going to click here, and it'll explain to you how I'd like you to write up the lab report. Make sure you pay attention to these discussion questions. This is going to be answered inside the discussion. Okay? And then here's the rubric for how you're going to be marked on it. Okay? At the very end, here's a checklist. Make sure you put some time into going through and making sure you have all of these things done. And here's your resources for some extra information if you need it. Okay? So that's what you're going to do today, is you're going to basically do a lab and then work on writing it up. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit more time to do this. So tomorrow, we're probably not going to actually have a lesson. I'll still have something on my news feed, but it's going to be more on tomorrow. I'm going to give you time to work on actually writing up your lab report. Make sure you spend that time wisely because, again, we're just going to keep moving on. Okay?